Hello fellow map makers, welcome to another live map making session. It looks like I'm live, yes, sound seems to be fine, but please do let me know in the chat whether you can hear me properly. Sound is good, excellent to read, thank you very much. I'm Ralf Stemmann of Fantasy Software, and I'm here to show you a little bit more of our software campaign Cartographer tonight. Specifically, I've got the latest Cartographer's annual issue around in my own hand-drawn dungeon style, and I just want to give you an introduction on how to use the style to do floor plan and or dungeon. Hi everybody there in the chat. See quite a few of the usual people are around. That's very nice. Hi everybody. Nice for you to join us tonight. If you like the channel, do consider us giving the video a like and our channel a subscribe. That helps us with the visibility on YouTube. And if you've got any questions during the session, please post them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer things, and if possible, I'll show stuff on screen to give you any advice that you might need. Alright, should we start? Yes, let's get going. I've got the example map from the latest annual issue up on screen, and as you see, it's a style that can be used for floor plans and dungeons, one of our classic dungeon styles, with a little difference that it is originally hand-drawn by me. I've drawn all the symbols by hand on the fill styles and scanned that in, colored it in on the computer and converted it into symbols and textures for campaign Cartographer. And as an annual issue, it's a bit limited in scope, so we do have a nice selection of symbols, but it is not very large. I hope to expand this style in next month's issue, and then perhaps add a few more symbols over time with the free monthly symbols we do to make it into a more versatile overall dungeon style. Okay, yes, Viman just mentions he's got distracted by the Roman roads website I posted on my blog. That was a wonderful little web project done by historians and archaeologists for visualizing the road network of the Roman Empire, where you can zoom in and look around. If you're interested in stuff like that, in ancient history and transportation, do check out our blog. There's a link to the website there. But let's get back to our dungeon style. I want to do a little dual map where you've got an overland or outside section, an outdoors section, and then that merging into a hillside with a cavern and perhaps some rooms in there, and we'll see how we can create that with our style. I'll start off as usual by clicking our new map icon. I'm going to save the changes here, and then I'm going to go to the dungeons map type, click next, and then let's find our hand-drawn dungeon. It's down here as usual as in the imperial and the metric style. I'm gonna go for the hand-drawn one. Just a little tiny bit of preview for CC4 for the future. I can tell you that we'll merge these into one in CC4, where you have both the imperial metric style as a toggle basically, and you don't have dual entries in the list anymore. It will make everything a lot shorter, basically cuts the size of the text fields in half, and I think will be very useful. Just a little tiny but useful change. Alright, so I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to set the size of my map, and I'm going to go for let's say 160 by 120 foot area. That's fairly small but manageable in our map making here. And then I'm just going to not add anything. I'll do everything else later, and just going to click finish here and save the map in our video folder. find it again later. Let's call it the live map. Go, and here's our base with a blank grass area as the background. Alright, so let's see what do we want to do first. Let's do a little outdoor area first with a little shack or log hut, and then expand that into a cavern system next to it. So how do we draw a floor with a wooden floor, stuff like that? We do that by using the room tool in Dungeon Designer. It's up here on the left. I'm just going to click that, and there we see we've got just a blank background. That's because I've been using something else in a different style previously, so we do need to set this to the settings for the style. And here we want some wood background here as the coloring, and we do want a floor planks, and we'll add these by adding a bitmap foreground. Here you can see that's the tiled floor style, or the stone tiles floor, but we do want to go for the wood planks, and I want to go for the horizontal version, and the wall is fine with the black here, and we'll leave it at that. And then I'm just gonna click OK, and I'm gonna turn on my grid because I want to have switched the grid to, or want to be able to measure my distances more easily. But I do have a very small grid set here at the moment, so let's do something a little bit larger. And that way we can also see the grid points. So I'm thinking I want to put the hut down here in the lower corner. So let's make it not too large, just 30 feet across and 20 feet down. You can see the distances up here in the coordinate tracker, and we've set the coordinates to relative coordinates. You can see that with the @ sign here, and so that gives me the distances I'm moved from the last point. And if I go down to 20, that's exactly what the size of the room will be. Here we go. And if you zoom in, you can see there's my little hut. I want to split this into 2 rooms, and I'm going to do that simply by adding an interior wall. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to use the open version, and then just draw that in here. And you can see that matches the style I've been using on the room fill or the room walls. And there we've got the hut split into 2 rooms. Now we do need some doors, and so I'm going to switch to the wall features symbol catalog up here. And then I'm thinking one half of the hut is going to be kind of a stables or barn, and we can put a larger double door on that. So I'm going to grab the double door and see there's symbol for that, and this cuts the wall nicely. You can see that if I zoom in, I think, yeah, you can see there's no wall background there anymore, and you've got the door in there. And on the other side, I want to do a single door to the front, put that here, and then but also a door that leads from one half of the hut to the other. There we go. All right, then I want to put in a couple windows. Got a windows symbol here. Put one in here, one on the front side and one on the back of the hut, and we'll not put any windows on the shed part of the hut. There we go. easy and simple. And now we're just going to put in some furniture. And for that, I'm going to switch to the furniture catalog. And there we've got the basic stuff. So what I want to do is I want to add a bed. Obviously, our resident needs somewhere to sleep. So we're just going to, I'm using the arrow keys to align these in 90 degrees angles. And I'm going to turn off the snap so I can place the furniture more freely. And I'm going to put the bed here below the window. There we go. Then I want a table. Just going to grab the round table, put it in the center of the room, and then a couple of chairs around that. There we go. Arrange these around the table. Let's do 2 chairs and a stool. And I want them being below the table, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the bring to front command, select the table, default do it, and now my table is in front of the furniture, the chairs and the stool. There we go. Then I do want a fireplace. So I'm going to grab a fireplace here. I'm going to use the lit version. Again, align this. And here I'm going to use the snap again to put it exactly up against the wall. There we go. And then what else do we need? Perhaps a little stove here on the other side of the window for cooking. Table. This is perhaps a little bit large, but I can just, for our purposes here, so I'm just going to scale that down a little bit. Put that here. And then I've got a cupboard. Set that back to the normal size by right-clicking and pressing the Set Normal button. Turn on Snap again to put it up against the wall. There we go. And one here. And then what else do we got? No furniture. Actually I'm going to put in a little bench here. Snap. Put that below the window here. And then I'm going to switch to the containers and treasure catalog. And I want to put a little barrel here in the corner. And I'm going to put some books on the cupboard here. For that I'm just going to zoom in, align my books, make them a bit smaller. There we go. Can also put a single book on the table here, so it's a well-read woodsman who's living here. And then I'm going to put a pot here, but I don't want the greenish liquid one, so instead I'm going to go take a bluish color, grab the varicolor symbol, make it a bit smaller, and put that on the table here. And then we've got the pot on the table here. Alright, so that's the living part of the hut. That works well enough. Now for the storage and stable part. And for that I'm going to switch to the furniture again. And here I'm thinking I want to put in some stalls here on the side, and for that I think I'm just going to use the wall again, but at a smaller width, so the 0.5 width. And then I'm going to turn Snap on and draw these to here. And now I do need a little bit of a smaller grid because I want to draw smaller sections of that. So I'm going to turn to the so I have the one grid to Snap instead. put in some breaks. So there we go. And here I did quite move that far enough to there. And I'm thinking for my small sized hut here, my blur on the walls is perhaps a little bit too strong for my liking on a map of this size. So I'm going to go into the wall section, have a look, and there's a blur effect. And I'm just going to reduce that a bit to make that less obvious in the zoom in here. There we go, that's better. Alright, so I've got that, and I'm thinking I might want a little stairway here perhaps that goes up to the attic above the hut. So I'm going to grab the, actually I'm going to use a ladder for that. Here we go, could be a little bit larger. And let's put a ladder here on the wall, and then some bit of storage stuff. Grab a lying barrel, set it to normal, put it here, and a smaller one next to it. And do we have some crates? Oh, I don't think I have a crate in here, but at least I have a chest. So I'm going to put in a larger and a smaller chest, and then we can put in some sacks. Let's do a little bit of sacks here, stack of them, and then a standing one in the corner. There's another one here. There we go. Then we've got space for a couple of animals that could be put in the pens here. I don't have any animal symbols in here, so we'll leave these empty. Thinking I might want to do a little bit of a dusty or scattered rushes look on the floor here, so to make it a little bit different from the wooden floor of the main room. And for that I'm gonna think, because I haven't set up anything for that, I'm gonna create a new sheet. So I'm gonna do a sheet floors covering, or a floors cover, put that in, and let's have a look first. And I'm gonna put this on floor, background floor 2. And let's have a look what fill style we want to use for that. We can just use the earth fill style, or I could just use a new, or use a solid one and make a color. Let's do that. So I'm going to do a brush pattern, solid, and just a little bit of dark yellow color, and then I'm gonna use a smooth poly, turn off the snap, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of patchy area here on the floor. And you see this is now very solid and big on this, and that's obviously not what I want. I do want to make this into a very much a transparent and faded look, and so I'm gonna add a sheet effect to the sheet, and I'm gonna do a edge fade inner effect, and let's say a 2-foot edge. That's the area, transition area, and the inner opacity only 25, outer opacity 0. Leave this as map units, apply, and have a look. And that's perhaps even a little, not quite enough for my, or what I want. So I'm gonna put up the opacity to 35%. Yeah, and this way at least it's a little bit differentiated. It doesn't really look like it's rushes covering the floor, but it might be some leftover dust and things, and just makes it look a little bit different. Oh, perhaps I'm thinking the yellow is perhaps a bit too jarring. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click right click on the change properties button, use change color, select the entity and do it as a brown instead. And then it's not visible enough again, so I'm gonna go in and increase the opacity to 45. And now I'm happy for the moment and leave it at that. And this step-by-step checking out, changing is how I usually create new tools and things I want for the map. So what would I do if I wanted to create a drawing tool for this? So I just know what to use if I do something similar again. Then I'm gonna go into the drawing tools, click on advanced. I'm gonna take a look at one of the floor tools I have. Let's do the default earth as the basis, because if I click new now, and I'm just gonna do floor dust, I'm gonna remove the default. That means it will only show up if I right click the floors button, not if I left click the floors button. And then I'm gonna go into the properties and have a look. I said this should go on the floors cover sheet. I did use the color 234, I think, and fill style solid, background floor 2 as my layer, and the main difference options smooth. So I'm drawing a smooth polygon if I start the tool. And now this setup I've done here is easily replicated by using the floor dust drawing tool. All right, so much for that. Now we've got our hut here. I'm going to turn off the grid, and now I want to add a little bit of a check going there, some dirt area around there, and then some woods and bushes and trees. So I'm gonna go for our default terrain here, click that. Oh, I don't have any default terrain set up. That's a bit of a mistake. So I've got the okay, I see what the problem is. The comma is at the wrong location. See, if I click the left click the terrain button, it does look for any drawing tools that are called terrain, comma, default. And in setting up these tools, I did accidentally make them terrain default, comma. And that way the left click doesn't find them, because the right click only looks for terrain, it does find them. That's something to fix. I'll fix that in the style and change it in the download. So, but no, it doesn't matter any difference from drawing. We can just pick the terrain default earth tool here and then use this to draw a bit of a path. Just draw a little bit of a dirt area here around the hut, because it's got a fairly strong edge fade effect. Doesn't matter that we don't have a smooth tool, but the straight polygon tool instead. But I also want to do the second path from here. Oh, that was my mistake. I accidentally did a right click in between. There we go, and there we've got a little path along that way. Now I do want to add some bushes and trees. Those are under the skirmish symbols. And here are my bushes. So I'm going to grab the base color and just add some here at the back of the house. Yeah, that's right. These are randomized. You see they change their size and orientation, and you put them down. And this way they give nice, even it's only one symbol, it gives a nice variation when you're placing down the stuff. And I can also add some variation by add a little bit of a different color. So if I go in and do darker green, so I can just put some darker bushes among the other ones with a vary color. And then one with a little bit of a lighter color. We've got a little bit of color variation in this as well. And then I'm going to grab a tree and build a bit of a forest area here. I'm going to do this by covering most of the area with trees, but again I can do a little bit of color variation. Let's do the light ones first. And then darker ones. And this way we've got a bit of a forest here. Looks quite nice already. And there we've got our little hut. And now I do want to build a little bit of a cave section, perhaps with some secret hideout at some point. And for that I want to set that off with a different background. And for that we are gonna take a look here and go for the terrain again. And I would want to put in this as a rock background. So let's see. So if I make that a little bit along this area, I'm thinking. So I'm going to start off here. So my cave entrance can be somewhere here. And then I'm going to go along the tree edge here. There we go. And there's my rock terrain background. But I'm not... Oh, actually, haha, what I did accidentally, I put it on floor's cover. I wanted to put this on floors originally. Again, well, actually, this should have gone on terrain, really, shouldn't it? No, it's the floor rock I used. I also have terrain rock. Or no, I don't have terrain rock, so that's fine. But I do want to put it on a different sheet. So I'm going to use change properties. And I'm going to put this on the... Should I do background? I could put it on outside. I'm going to put it on outside. There we go. But I'm still not happy because it's got a transparency on that sheet and I don't want a transparency and it's not such a edge fade effect here. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to create a new sheet for that. So I'm going to do background rock. I could just put it on background, but then I can't do a separate sheet effect for that. Oh, there's a typo in there. Background rock. So let's change properties our rock and put that on background rock. And now I can do my own idea of a sheet effect on that, and I'm thinking I want a little bit of a bevel on that. Let's have a look. Let's look if I put a 3-foot bevel on that. apply. Could be a bit smaller, 2 units, and less intensity. Let's just do 75% intensity. There we go. That's nice. And then also a bit of a fade, a bit of a transparency. Let's do just a 80% opacity. Yeah, makes it a bit lighter, a bit greenish, because the grass background shines a little bit through, and I think that's nice. So that's a rock face here, basically. But I'm thinking in this case I do need a little bit more forest here up on the upper left corner. And I do need to get a bit going, because our half-hour session is already over. And I've not started on the caves yet. So let's have a look and just place down some trees quickly. Down here, a bit more scattered perhaps, doesn't need to be. Okay, and then this color. There we go, and the darker color as well. Excellent. All right, now I do want to have a go at the caves. And for that we do have a cave tool, and there we're gonna go. See, we've got the default caves here. Just let's right click that to see all the different tools. I've got a default cave, it's a version without walls, a tool just to edit stuff. And so I'm gonna grab the default tool, and I'm just gonna draw it a little bit outside of my rock face. And then I'm just gonna draw the rough shape of my caves. Problem with the gray background is that I don't see my line. I want to see how this works. You can always edit that later. See, that works so far. So there's a narrow spot here. What's nice, might be interesting. The only thing that doesn't quite work is the entrance here. And how do we fix that? Well, we're gonna do a break in the wall here, so that it looks more natural. For that, to do a break in the wall, I need to freeze everything but the walls layer. Otherwise, it will. I will grab the floor background, and then I'm just going to click the edge here and put a break from here to here. And yeah, the problem is my dark inner glow on the floor. That's this sheet effect here, which gives a nice offset of the walls here for the cave. The only problem, it also applies obviously on this point, which is a bit of a downside, but we can fix that by doing a bit of a covering up operation. So I'm gonna use extract properties on the first off, I need to thaw everything else again, otherwise my extract properties doesn't work. Extract properties on the floors, and I'm on the floors sheet here. And what I'm going to do is yet another floors sheet. Add floors no glow. And then I'm going to use the cave. No, what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to draw this with the polygon here. I'm going to use the F5 modifier to attach it to my existing corners, or draw a little bit across this. There we go. And we can adjust that a little bit by adding a few more points. There we go. And I'm not really that happy at the moment with this. So I need to come up with something else. But I'm thinking, could be good to just cover this up a little bit with rock symbols. So I'm going to click the caves icon. Going to grab a rock, large rock, and put this here on the corner of the cave stuff, and then some symbols low to cover this up a little bit. Rock, a bit of a rocky entrance, and this way we've covered the entrance a bit, our not so nice transition stuff, and I quite like that. That's good enough for a quick cave system map. There we go. And now I'm going to do another little trick in with the cave tool to add some interior bits, like some pillars or a space of solid rock. So I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to use the cutout for that. That uses our color key effect. If I draw this and do a refresh, you'll see that this basically creates a area of solid rock, and with the sheet effects reversed around that, so it looks like it's actually part of the background. All right, nice, that looks good. And now I do want to get into adding a few regular rooms here at the back of the cave. Some kind of a hidden area, perhaps a secret hideout, or a little shrine for a forbidden religion, something like that. And for that I'm going to turn snap on again. And I'm going to go back to my room tools, and I'm going to switch to our stone background and then the stone tiles. Cover, foreground, there we go. And I want the larger grid again. And I'm going to put in, oh, I should turn on snap. I want to use the grid, that is helpful. So 15 foot by 20 foot, and then a little extra room here. Or actually I might use a different shape. I'm going to do a circular room here as our special room. There we go. See the same sheet effects on this. And then I want to add a corridor. 5 foot corridor is fine. I want to connect this from here to here, breaking spaces into this area, and then I want to do the same here from the corridor to the cave. Let's have a quick look there. I don't want to add an end wrap for the corridor. For this, gonna connect to here, and I want to try connecting to the cave wall. You can't really see that. Unfortunately, that does not work. It doesn't break anything in there because there's too many spaces in here, because it's an irregular shape. Then the tool cannot do a break in there. So what I'm going to do instead to fix that, I'm going to edit the cave wall first and make it straight in a little section so I can put a corridor connection there. And for that to work, I'm going to use the cave edit tool. Press E for edit. Go there, and then put in a little straight section. Okay, and I'm a bit confused why that didn't work with the wall. It should have worked with the wall as well. Okay. Well, let's have a look whether I can edit the wall in the same way. That was this size. E for edit. No, it doesn't. The edit doesn't work on the wall. There might be a little bit of a mismatch. My wall is black. Was that black? Was here? If I info list. That's my tool. Okay, I have a little error there in the tool. The color is not black, but 240. I should have seen that because that's a dark gray and not a black. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the color. I need to update the cave tool to fix that. Let's do that right away here. Cave default properties. No, it's actually in the outline because the wall is the outline. And see, there's the color 240, and that should be 0. Save that. Do the same with the edit. Okay. Save. Let's try again whether I can now use the wall to edit this section here. No, it doesn't really work. It jumps to that area there. Okay, I'm a bit confused. Sorry for that. I have to look into this later. So what I'm going to do, instead of playing around with that for ages, I'm just going to use my node edit tool. Oh, don't be careful. And remove the extra node there. Let's make sure that I have no more extra nodes in here. Yeah, that's fine. And then can I use the add node tool to put them back in and make sure that this is on the same points. And now I'm going to try the corridor again and do a break in there. No end wall. That's what I wanted. Okay. And connect to here. Here. No, something is odd with the walls there. Somehow I can't get them to break. Doesn't matter really. I'm not going to put a break in there this way. I'm going to put a break in with a door instead. That should work as well. I have to take a closer look at the cave setup in this tools here, whether there's something, whether the walls of the cave tool are on the wrong layer or something. Quick look. No, it looks correct at first glance. Well, I'll take a closer look when I've got the piece to do that and see that I fixed that. So what I'm gonna do here instead to put a break in is I'm gonna go to my doors and I want to put in a stone door. I've got a single stone doors here, and I'm gonna put this in here and that there, and that way I've got a break there in the wall on it just by using the door symbol. Alright, and now I can go on and fill the stuff here. So I'm going to put in some torch brackets, but I'm not going to put in the burning torches. You can see that it's empty at the moment, so I'm just going to put that here. And you can see this snaps to the wall as I place it there. The only problem is I can't control exactly on which side of the wall the one goes. That's because my cursor is jumping from grid point to grid point. I can't move it a little bit at that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the cursor snap of the grid. And this way you can see I have more precise control over the the cursor. Let's move it a bit closer so you can actually see that. See, if I'm on that side of the wall, it aligns to the north. If I go down a little bit, it aligns to the south. But if I click, it will still hit the exact grid point. So I'm going to align it this way, and then I can set the distance. That way I can set it off if I wanted to match wider walls. But I'm good here with that, how it looks at the moment. And I'm going to put in another couple torch brackets here and another one here. It's all empty and dark at the moment. So I'm thinking perhaps there's a secret grave here or something, a holy site for someone who doesn't want others to find this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the base of a statue here in this room. Might perhaps make it a little bit larger. There we go. And then a sarcophagus, normal size, or a couple sarcophagi, one here and one here. And perhaps a little altar here in front of the statue. Oh, that jumped because I've still got my grid set. So I'm going to turn off this snap to place it precisely as I want it. There we go. And then perhaps, what else do we got? We've got some treasure perhaps. Let's put a chest here, a large chest at the end of the room, behind the statue, and perhaps a couple coins just underneath it. And actually move this, move to sheet and the chest, not on the simple slow sheet, but on the symbol sheet. Actually should also put the altar, this and these two on the normal symbol sheet. There we go. And there's my little side room. And then I can have a look and add some more rocks here to the cave. Perhaps a little blocking this door, so it's a bit more hidden. Symbols flat for the little rocks here. And I'm thinking I want to perhaps scatter some rocks around this cave areas, but I don't want to go to the trouble and all put the little individual rocks on there. So I'm thinking I might set up a little symbols in area tool. So I'm going to go just make sure I've got the right properties to start with here by clicking extract properties on the flat little rocks I've placed. And then I'm going to go in and draw symbols in area. And I'm going to browse to my catalog, that is that I want to use, that the symbols are in. Maps is the overland stuff. I need to go into dungeons, to 25 hand-drawn dungeons. There's my cave catalog. I'm going to pick the first of the rock symbols here, but allow random symbol selection. That means every symbol placed will be picked from this collection of little rocks. So I do want a fairly low chance to place a rock per point. I just want a few scattered ones. I can scale them a little bit randomly. Although let's scale them randomly by 20%. minimum distance 5 feet is a bit large. They can be closer together, so say 1 foot minimum distance. Layout pattern within 1 foot of the edge, and here also let's make the distance here quite a bit smaller for the pattern. All right, see whether that works. Okay, and now I need to select the area I want to scatter them, and that would be the cave floor here. So I'm just gonna grab this and combine not layer walls, do it, and there, if I turn off snap, you see that we've got quite a few little rocks scattered around this area now, and quick and easy. So that works nicely. I might thinking I might actually increase the number of scattered rocks a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this. I'm going to draw symbols in area and do a 20% chance to scatter them. Okay. Use prior to select the same area. Do it. And you see they've got quite a few more rocks on the floor. All right, and there we are. And that's our little cave system with a little burial place and holy area tucked away at the end of it, hidden from plain view, and the hut here in the forest. We might perhaps give a visitor, if people walking into caves a little bit more often, we'll have a little bit of a track going there. So let's have a look, go for terrain, and I'm actually going to just use the swamp for a tool for a little bit of darker grass area. Don't want to make that too obvious, so it's not going to be a dirt path. Zoom in a bit so we can see the whole section. Put that here. Go. And there we've got our little foot track that leads to the cave entrance. So I might also just use the same tool to give the forest a little bit of background, so it's a little bit offset from the more grassy area. Here, like this. The same way up here. That section. There we go. And then I want to add a compass rose and a scale bar. So I can open the cartoons catalog. Oh no, actually this one doesn't have a cartoons catalog. The ones are in the interior, the interior symbols of the drawing. I've got a compass rose here and the scale bar. So I'm just going to grab the scale bar. Set to normal. This way it's 100 foot, but this is of course quite a lot for this map. So let's use a fifth of that area. That could perhaps a little bit larger. So let's say 0.25. Place that here, and so that will not be 100 foot, but 25 feet in size. There we go. And grab a compass rose, and let's say this is not an exact north aligned map, so I'm gonna put it like this, and then I'm gonna put in the north indicator but I do need to change the color to black and the label or the layer to text labels. Okay, I'm just going to put the N here to show that north is that way. All right. So there we are. I could go in and actually, yeah, I think I'll do a little bit more work on the edge of the forest cliff here. I don't quite like how strongly that is set up from everything else. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also put a little bit of terrain. Darker grass terrain there, showing more shadow than anything else. Along the cliff edge. I'm just gonna go all the way to the map border there. That goes behind the dark gray and of course makes our rock more greenish because that is partially transparent. That this way it looks more a little bit more like a hill and not so much like a sheer rock face, which I quite like, so that is nice. And then I also want to put in a few more bushes at the edge. Set normal again and just put some bushes here on the edge of the hill. That way we blend the whole thing more nicely into the outside. And also a couple more trees. There we go. And I like that a lot better actually. More trees here on the edges. And there's our map. Yeah, I could put in a little bit, a few more labels, but I think the time is now. It's just 3 minutes. Oh, let's put in a little bit more, a few labels in there. So I'm gonna go with the text labels here and put in wooden hut in here. Set it to the right size for my map. Actually, this should be, as you can see from the shadow and the outline, this should be in white, the text. So change color, select the text, do it, and 15 color white is color white. There we go. So the drawing style is set up to be used with white labels. And then I'm going to do here outer cave. And let's say there's some, well, let's just do outer cave here. And this is the, let's call it the bat cave. Not the Batman cave, but the bat cave. So there might be some bats roosting here, which could scare off some curious visitors. Oh, I'm still at black. I should change my color to white again. And actually also my current drawing color. Temple of Shah. Okay, Kurt wants this. Temple of Shah. I'm not sure what you mean there, Sue. She sent me a text. Something for Kurt. I didn't see that, so I'm not entirely sure we can call it that. But of course. All right, and here. Okay, Sue says it was in the chat earlier. I didn't see that, so we can put it in a sec as the title for the map. So this is going to be the tomb. And here's the shrine at the end of the map. Why do I forget forget setting this to white. Okay. Yeah, there was a joke with the Temple of Shah, which I missed, which I was not aware of the name. So forget any confusion, any confused rambling here on my side. But I'm just going to call that anyway. So I'm going to call this the Temple of Shah. Put it down here so it refers more clearly to the little shrine there at the end. Change color to white. And there we are. And that's our 1 hour map with the map style for today's mapping session. And I'm quite happy with it. A little woody area and on the hillside with the little cave system with a hidden shrine inside. And that's all that's needed for that. All right. So that's something from Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, that's a game I haven't been able to play yet. I certainly want to. It sounds very interesting, and the reviews are all ravingly good. But I don't get to play big computer games much anymore nowadays. But perhaps sometime I'll manage. I certainly want to. And that's it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Nice that you were around, that you decided to join us in the live mapping session. Also, thank you if you're watching this later. And if you've still got questions after this and it's not the live session anymore, please do join us on the forum, on the Facebook group, and you'll get all your answers solved there, all your questions answered there. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.